Since the invention of film, filmmakers have wanted to grasp and document real life through the art of cinema. Through this documentation of reality, the documentary was born, and arguments about what documentary should be have been ongoing for decades. This discussion questions artificiality versus authenticity, and whether or not the two should overlap. A film that pushes this question to the fore is The Thin Blue Line by Errol Morris, a man who in the past was a private detective, which can be seen through his investigation into the wrongful conviction of Randall Adams for the murder of the policeman Robert Wood.
It's a story about a man like you and me who one day met a guy, a killer, and his life was forever changed, and there was nothing that he could do about it.
It dives through the many layers of truth, the truth of who's the murderer, the integrity of the justice system, and ultimately the complexity of the truth itself. Through a highly stylized form of cinema full of reenactments, newspaper clippings, drawings and maps, the filmmaker can investigate these layers of truth in the film, question them and ultimately reinforce them. From watching the film, it is clear that its theme is truth, not just from the standpoint of Randall Adams' word against David Harris's, but also in terms of style. The film has been described as having a film noirish beauty, with its highly expressionistic reenactments, score, and Hollywood stage lighting. With these aids, Morris can show us truth that without he could not.
And I roll down my window. I pull the pistol out and blow this man away. Well, it's crazy. It's crazy.
This relates to the belief of the French filmmaker Jean Rouch, who was seen as the inventor of cinema verite. He ultimately believed that the camera was his tool, and the filmmaking process was a way to investigate the preoccupations of his subjects. This is ultimately true for Morris. While he abandons some elements of cinema verite, including the participation and interruption by the filmmaker, he does interact in the film in a subtle way, through visuals and reenactments. In The Thin Blue Line, Morris investigates the subjects of David Harris and Randall Adams, sharing their experiences of the events on the night of the murder. Due to the technologies of editing, Morris shows the evidence of the case through the visual. While Adams relays his version of events, we as an audience can clearly see the evidence in front of us. The TV guide, the outdoor cinema timetable, indicates to us a truth behind Adams' story. However, there has been a lack of evidence in Harris's case. Behind the story is only words, and as a consequence, Morris is questioning the misplaced innocence and guilt. Scottish documentary maker John Grierson has stated that the definition of documentary film is the creative treatment of actuality. What Errol Morris is doing with documentary filmmaking is pushing this definition to its limits by connecting both art and reality. The repetition of the reenactments show the audience the many truths that have come from a singular event. We see the different versions of the night in question subtly change throughout the film, starting off with the police's original understanding of the murder, David Harris's version when he and Adams were both situated in the car, and then of Adams as the lone driver in the car, evidence given by the supposed eyewitness Emily Miller. Griersonians dismissed the reconstruction of untrue events, as it tempered with the authenticity and reality of documentary filmmaking. However, it must be said that Morris never states any untrue events in the film. He is challenging what exactly the truth is by giving us untruths, and how and why these came about. In many instances, we see evidence showing that it was Harris who stole the car from a neighbour, and the gun used to shoot Wood stolen from his father, yet these facts are dismissed in the case. Through these reconstructions, along with the reasoning behind the belief that these ideas are true, the justice system is put into question. These reconstructions do indeed help identify the truth, as one of the points the film is trying to get across is that the justice system itself is unjust.
When people become concerned with meting out vengeance, they become less interested in adjudicating facts, listening to evidence.
As said before, Morris is challenging the truth but also challenging documentary as a whole, and wasn't a hugely traditional documentary at the time. It doesn't necessarily suit one particular style of documentary, but many. A statement made due to the fact it combines interview techniques with reconstructions and cinema techniques. According to Bill Nichols, there are 6 modes or styles of documentary. While it contains elements of Nichols' other styles of documentary, ultimately it belongs to the reflexive mode, a style of documentary that is meant to challenge our expectations and assumptions, while thinking of documentary film as a construct. Without the voice of God narration dominating the screen, Morris leaves interviews and reenactments to initiate the viewer to think about the case and question it. He challenges the viewer and what we expect from the usual documentary. Through these stylized hypotheticals, we see that we don't necessarily know or understand fully the truth. At the beginning of the film, we know nothing about the truth of the case. Morris takes us on the same journey that he went through in order to find the evidence, analysing and putting together the pieces of the case in order to come to a conclusion that Adams is an innocent man.
What I want to do in those reenactments is to take people deeper and deeper into the ambiguities of the case.
In this way, we are challenged to think about the truth as a whole, making our own conclusions along the way. How people can be willing to believe a lie because of convenience, unwilling to source out the truth. Through these various ideas of style, we can see how Morris wanted to surround his film in different layers concerning lies and truth. Bringing together Hollywood cinema and the documentary film, Morris forms a rich stylized drama, yet keeps the integrity of documentary intact. We see a man who is in the wrong place at the wrong time, released from prison after Morris, through a recorded interview with David Harris, gets a close to confession of the murder of Woods. Revealing this truth was an aim of Morris's, yet he also reveals the truth of the human condition, documenting how we think about truth, are hungry for the truth, yet hugely unwilling to seek it until it is put in front of us. And I think that this is how, through style, Morris can question the truth presented, yet simultaneously reinforce it.